This is the PR Podcast, a show about how public relations helps you tell your story to the world. We talk with great PR practitioners who have the skills, creativity, and just plain savvy to get their clients noticed. Now here's your host, Jody Fisher.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the PR Podcast. I'm Jody Fisher. Thanks for joining us. Well, have you got yourself your PR podcast plug yet? You know, we say this time and again that we're really great at promoting our clients as PR people, but we're lousy at promoting ourselves. At least I am. And so this is an easy way to promote yourself and something fun that you do. It's not your 9 to 5. The PR podcast plug is not your 9 to 5. It's your blog. It's your TikTok. It's your guitar hobby. It's your cooking hobby. It's your newsletter. It's something you do that is your passion project. We like to celebrate the people in our PR community. And so we want to hear what you're doing in addition to your 9 to 5. So send us your PR podcast plug, and we will get you plugged in an upcoming episode of the show. Now, on with our guest for today, Katina Bush is account director at Calhoun Company, based in San Francisco, where she is a specialist in public relations, strategic communications, and digital marketing with an eye for storytelling and a deep appreciation for media relations. Her experience across sports, entertainment, food and beverage, and hospitality clients, both at agencies and in-house, is complemented by her love of travel, food, and exploring new areas of our ever-shrinking world. And boy, is it shrinking. She currently serves as on the San Francisco chapter board of directors for the Public Relations Society of America. You would think I would be able to get that out a little easier. Katina, welcome to the PR Podcast.
Thank you so much, Jody. I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited.
Now, you also have a nickname I noticed on your website. Tell us what that nickname is and how you came about it.
Yes. So most people actually, both in industry and here at home, call me Tinka. And Tinka is just a jumble of my letters of my first name, Katina, and it spilled out in someone who was telling a story about me and them and funny, and they were talking too fast, and somehow they said Katinka, and it got shortened to Tinka over time, and it really stuck. And now I think I've had it for over 20 years.
That's great. Well, if you dig it, that's what we're going to use today. If you're
Perfect.
all right.
I love it.
That's great. So tell us about your work with Calhoun Company. You span a number of different areas. We mentioned sports, entertainment, food and bev. You know, what is your thing? What do you do?
Yeah. So at Calhoun Company specifically, we are wine and spirits specialists. So overall, we focus in that space, in the alcoholic beverage industry. Myself, I have, like you said, worked in a variety of industries, mostly in agency space, as well as some nonprofits and higher educational institutions in those fields, supporting their strategic communications and digital marketing efforts. At Calhoun, I got to bridge my passion for wine, a personal passion I had for wine, with my amazing expertise, which is what really drove me to land there during the pandemic. About Calhoun Company, just a little bit more so people can find out a little bit more about the company. We're a woman-owned business. We actually we're celebrating our 20th year this year in 2023. Katina Calhoun is a 30-year veteran in the wine and PR industry. She's well known in the space and really has built this beautiful boutique agency specializing in exactly what she wanted to specialize in, wine and spirits. And she really corners the market in that space. With my 15 years of experience, so about half of hers, I'm fortunate to bring a little bit more of the new media, and digital marketing lens to the agency that has been slowly growing over the last few years as we see social media and new media and digital platforms become more of a news and resource space for our audiences and consumers when they're looking for, in our case, buy wine and spirits.
Wow, that is great. And that is not an easy industry to be working in. It's, I would say for the pedestrians like me, it's awfully crowded. You probably know maybe a handful of brands. And when it comes to wine, I would bet that, 80 to 90% of the world doesn't know what they're doing. So how do you help to educate the audiences that you're targeting to the brands that you're representing, or make the buying decisions that you want them to be?
So Great point. I was literally going to lead with the fact that yes, wine is a very crowded marketplace. For example, one of the biggest requests we have of our clients, just to start as an example, is the fact that they want media and specific media of these top tier, there's about 5 like key publications that everyone wants to be in. They want those top editors to walk on property and visit their winery and taste their wines on site and see them and see what they do. The reality is, in California alone, there's 4,000 bonded wineries. So there's no way an editor could get to, I know it's a lot. There's no way an editor could get to every winery, even if they visited 10 in a day, every day for 365 days in the year. So it's just impossible.
There,
so,
I can hear that. There are people chuckling out there right now going, I could do that. Wait, but
right.
I digress.
Someone
Go
pay
ahead.
me to do that, I'll do that. Yeah. But it's just, it's a little, it is a lot. There is a lot of people and there's a lot of noise in this space. And yes, we do pride ourselves on being able to cut through that noise on behalf of our clients. And we do that in 2 ways. Specifically, we have this partnership we develop with our clients where we become an extension of them and their brand. Sometimes we embed ourselves in their organization for, an onboarding period where we're there pretty regularly, once a week, twice a week, whatever that looks like. And then eventually we're just copied on every single marketing, PR, communications related email throughout the company, just to be apprised of everything that's happening. But on the same side, we actually treat our media outreach as partners and partnerships as well. So we've developed a great relationship with several editors and writers and freelancers. And in the wine space, freelancers are much more common than staff editors. And I can talk about that in a second. But we build these relationships and these partnerships with the media just as solidly as we build with our clients. So that creates a trust in a lot of different ways. The media trusts us in who we're bringing to them, and our clients trust us in the media we're bringing to them as well. So it becomes a big, lovely, symbiotic, familial relationship that produces great opportunities for everyone to be seen, be heard, and stand up above the rest.
So let's talk about some of those media opportunities. And I'm thinking of in my own business, when I identify storylines with clients, right? We think of different ways to tell their story. What are some of the different ways that you're coming up with within public relations and maybe even using social or whatever? What are some of the different ways and the different storylines that you're coming up with to tell any given brand's story?
Great question. One of the easiest ways for us to do that is to actually spend more time talking about the people behind the wine, whether that's the fact that we're working with a family-owned winery and all the amazing things they might do in their community, or the individual winemaker or a team of winemakers, like the individuals that produce and craft these beautiful beverages for the world are just as important to their success as the actual, outcome and the product itself. So we actually personify the wine by utilizing the great people behind it. Because at the end of the day, we know our audiences and consumers relate to other people. They relate to the personality or the ethos of a brand, which in theory is really a person and a personality trait or a value. And those come out when we best use our individuals. So a lot of the time our stories are about the people and the place maybe the wine is being made. We do have clients in the traditional Napa Valley, Sonoma Valley here in California. But we also have clients working in the Central Coast and making wine from there, making wine out in Lodi, making wine in Amador, which is up by Sacramento, California, and in the Sierra foothills. So there's just a lot more places we get to play in and play with. And all of that helps these brands and us tell a better story about who they are and what they stand for and what they're doing with the space that they're provided.
What is your experience with these different wineries or these different brands' appreciation of public relations and storytelling and outreach in that way, separate and apart from traditional paid advertising?
Right. It's definitely a mixed bag. I mean, we've definitely had to play the game of convincing the brands and the clients and the decision makers that PR is worth the investment. But at the same time, there's so many people who are just so thankful that they finally have a partner whose expertise is this, because we find so many winemakers and wineries and wine owners are very niche focused into that process, the business of wine, making it, selling it, getting it into the hands of their consumers, and being the best they can be. But beyond that, maybe the PR point and telling their story isn't their strong suit. And that's where Calhoun Company and I myself come in to solve that problem or support them in that process, in being a better advocate and essentially a better publicist for themselves at the end of the day.
Now, when it comes to things like food and beverage, and maybe some other thing, some ancillary categories that fall under the umbrella of discretionary spending, maybe people love their wine and they're not going to give up their wine, but if you listen to all the pundits, we're heading into some uncertain economic territory, and typically that's when companies will pull back on their storytelling, on spending money on things like PR and maybe even advertising. What's your perspective and Calhoun and Company's perspective on that? And how do you talk to both your clients and maybe others in the space on why it's important to continue that storytelling?
Honestly, I think the short answer is we've been defending the spends and PR probably definitely since March 2020 in my case. And then even more so in the food and beverage space, they're still taking PR part out of it. They're still working hard, building back to a place they can be and where they can be and all of that kind of stuff. So I think our efforts in PR are collectively as an industry something we've all had to defend over the last 3-ish years, right? Now, specifically going back to the food and beverage space, we have seen, businesses say, all I care about is tracking a sale or an executable action, whether that's an advertisement, a social media placement, a story placement, to, movement of sales and cases and depletions, as they call it. And at the end of the day, you can do that as long as you yourself, the publicist, are doing a very good job at measuring your efforts and your return on those efforts. So one of the things that I also make sure to do is every action, every activity, every pitch we send out, every story placement we mark it in time, and then we run with the sales team and track how are things performing based on right after that moment. Now, we know not every single experience is related to that success, but we do know it plays a part that we can at least see. Like we saw a 1,000 case spike within 30 days after this story ran in this specific publication. Now, yes, you might have had a great promotion going on at the same time, fabulous. But at the end of the day, there is something to say for what we're doing. So how we defend the investment that I mentioned us being, we always know PR is just that. It's always a longer slog than an immediate satisfaction, unfortunately. It is worth it as long as you are yourself, as the publicist and the PR team and the company, are taking the time to measure those successes and follow what your tasks are doing and how they're resulting in successes for the company on the business side and the sales side of things.
Yeah, I have similar conversations with my clients as well, and that I warn that PR is not a direct line to the cash register. However, when you have a great PR hit, or when you have a campaign that pops up and people are seeing and hearing it, there should be some sort of trackable metric that corresponds with that publicity. And so you should be able to sort of maybe overlay the two graphs, the PR hit graph with the sales graph, and they should run in unison. And not doing that and not engaging in that, you risk ceding the ground that you have claimed in your space to your competitors.
And I was going to say, there is more metrics too. I mean, I use sales just because that's one of the most important things. Of course, we all say sales make the difference, but there are other things too that you can use to measure that success. So for me, another way we see is there an increased engagement in conversations on social media? Are there more visits to the website and the shopping page, things like that, even if they're not a final track to purchased product or sales incurred. At the end of the day, there are other metrics too. So I want to make this more open for anyone else who's not working in a product-based or consumer product goods space where that makes a difference. There are plenty of other metrics to use. Like I said, conversations online, inquiries, visits. If you have a physical brick and mortar, visits to your space, you're seeing an increase in traffic. Things like that can also help you defend your value at the end of the day to your clients and companies.
Yeah, even people jumping on your social media, following you on any given social media platform. You know, when people read a story, hear you on the radio, see you in the newspaper, whatever that is, you know, many times people will jump on. That's the easiest thing to do, right? Before you even buy something, you're probably going to jump on someone's Instagram or whatever it is and check them out. And do a little bit more research, and even incoming to the website. I mean, even if they don't buy something, the fact that there's more traffic coming into the website is an indication that the PR is having an impact. What is have you ever seen a client maybe pull back on spend in challenging economic times and wish they hadn't? And can you share that with us?
That's a good question as well. I have seen it. Yes, I have seen it at a lower level, not in the role I'm at now, where everything is so much more transparent, being at such a boutique agency where we're all just hands-on and together all the time and very open and talking about it. I love it. At a bigger company, yes, I have seen that. I've seen a company pull back, and then within a few months, they came back to us and said, just kidding. Like we're not seeing like necessarily a sales dip, but they experienced a crisis and no longer had the retainer to cover our support in that space. So they ended up having to pay us a project-based fee, which was, as we know, that's where we get to upcharge in our industry. So they ultimately spent way more to have us come back on focused on this experience and that situation specifically. And they regretted it. And within 3 months, they went back to their original contract. So I've seen it in that sense. And I did graduate college in 2009. So as we know, like 2009 to like 2012 was really touch and go there in the economy. So I've been through some interesting ups and downs and seen the pullback and also the regretfulness in other ways, and other organizations that have, maybe shrunk their own internal PR teams and then gone, what the heck were we thinking? And turned around and did a massive rehiring to serve the needs and to accomplish the goals of the company. So I've seen it in both ways, from an agency standpoint and from like an internal in-house position. I will also say, back to just being at a boutique firm, one of the nice things we can do, is really tailor our contracts and our statement of works. And we have the ability to do this, being the size that we are, to exactly. So we've had a few clients who said exactly what you're saying, like, we're not sure what the future holds, but we need to be thoughtful and smart about it. And this is our focus. This is what we need. How much time will that take, and how much will that cost us? And can we run on that for another 12 months or 6 months even, and just see where it goes and then revert back if we need to? And I think that's also something really important for companies to just consider at any size, is creating more flexible, tailorable budget and statement of work opportunities so that you can retain clients and keep those relationships and those lines of communication open, should they have to bring things back. So this is just an industry-wide thought I had about being more flexible and willing to work together. And you're already a partner with them, and you already want to work with them, and you love it, and you know them, they know you. It's a great relationship. Don't let money, if it's possible, don't let money completely ruin that. If you have the ability to just reframe your relationship for a short period of time, because that's the idea, right? This is going to be a short-lived situation. So let's keep things rolling as best as we can in the interim, and then revisit when our circumstances change again, because inevitably they will.
Yeah, it's a great point that you bring up, because we all know that PR is a long haul type of a project. It's not something that you turn on and turn off. And so you engage with clients in these long-term relationships, and, contracts run at a minimum 6 months to a year. And that allows you to, just like you were talking about, embed yourself with the client, get to know the client, get to work with the client. And in the last couple of years of COVID, look, we probably all had clients that needed to pull back in some way, shape, or form. We didn't go running from the room. We didn't say, okay, fine, we're not going to work with you. We all hung in with them because we know the benefit of maintaining that presence in challenging times. And it's the challenging times where you need to maintain the presence. The last thing you can do, I think, in challenging times, regardless of whether economic or anything else, is pull back, is disappear. And PR allows, I think, clients and brands and businesses to more effectively maintain a market presence, even more effective. I'm not knocking our advertising, brothers and sisters, but even more effectively than advertising, it allows you to maintain that market presence and that authentic presence too, really speaking to the customers or speaking to the audiences that they're trying to get to. Well, this has been a great conversation, Tinka. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective on this. And of course, we all hope that things, land soft, as they say in the economic world. And I think that some of this stuff is kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, and the pundits on TV kind of will this stuff into existence. But we'll see where things goes. And of course, I know that us PR folk are hardy folk. We're gonna hang tough, right?
We'll make it through. And to your point, like, authenticity makes all the difference. Partnerships make all the difference. And yeah, just the idea that we know it's not forever. So I think that'll save us at the end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to segue now into the rapid fire question portion of our podcast. This is where we steal a page from inside the actor's studio and ask our guests a series of rapid fire questions meant to elicit a simple answer, maybe a laugh or two. Tinka, with your indulgence, here we go. Rapid fire question number 1. What is your favorite news source?
So this one was hard for me. I do use the New York Times for more like national level news. I also have the San Francisco Chronicle, of course, for our local stuff here in the Bay Area. And then on top of that, being in my business, there's so many dailies that I read, including like Schenken News Daily and several other beverage dynamics and beverage business news newsletters that I just get fed into my inbox. So I have to hit those up every single day for trends. And then I also like podcast news sometimes. So I'm on NPR. I listen to Up First. Great way to get your news in like 15 minutes or less. And as well as the daily podcast, if I have enough time to dive into something with the lovely Michael Barbaro.
We love Michael. What is the go-to wine and spirits publication? Is there one, or are there a couple favorites?
There's a couple favorites. There's several like listserv style news sources. So these are individuals that pride themselves on pulling from all the best trade, lifestyle, and like wine geek. I love to call them like wine geek publications. I'm really focused in the like almost like the ag and viticulture side of the industry, which is all the science behind winemaking. So there's a couple listservs for that. I did mention like Schenken News Daily is a good one. Beverage Dynamics is one that also covers like wine and spirits on a larger several drinks business is a good one. And there are a couple more storytelling ones, I like to call them, and that includes VinePair, which is a digital platform. And then you have like some glossy magazines that we get once a month that are fun to read in the wine space.
So many things to learn in our space, isn't there?
Yes, so many.
Absolutely. Rapid fire question number 2, Tinka. What is your favorite social media platform?
I honestly have to say I'm on Instagram the most. I think that's more of a symptom of my situation than anything else in terms of my work every day and how I engage with a lot of our media. But Instagram is probably the most. Right behind that would be LinkedIn. I don't really use Facebook beyond checking in with some family members. I know I'm not the first one to probably say some of the drama around that platform has concerned me. And then also both professionally and personally, I'm a little limited off of the Twitter space as well for the same reasons. And that's been a fun conversation to have with my clients too about Twitter throughout the last few months.
All right. So missing in there is the new upstart TikTok, Are
Yes,
you
I
using
don't
it at
use-
all, or?
I do use it because a lot of our wine influence, we do a lot with wine influencers and drinks and beverage and lifestyle influencers in that space. Yes, they're on it. Personally, I do not use it if I don't have to. So I'm not trying to be like against it or a contrarian in any way. I just like, okay, it's enough is enough. So I engage with it professionally as I need to. But no, it's not one of my top.
Right. And that's where I was at, was I was wondering if your clients are using it and how effective they think it is.
So with alcohol, I didn't even really get into this. In the alcohol beverage industry, you can imagine social media is a really muddy space. Being that it's a controlled substance in that theory, you know, all your audience members need to approve that they're 21 and up when they go to your website, right? So just like with Instagram and even Facebook, you can age gate. So you can make sure that your advertisements and your profile aren't suggested to anybody under the legal age of drinking in their country. TikTok doesn't have that functionality. So there are influencers on TikTok who are smartly using it to spread the word about brands and about what they do and making wine as part of their lifestyle experience on that platform. But at this current state, TikTok doesn't actually have an age gate feature, which makes it a risky opportunity for our clients. I will say, once someone, and hopefully it's one of my clients because I'm working on trying to figure this out, but once one of these alcohol brands figure out how to use TikTok effectively and appropriately in the best way possible legally, they're going to own the space in like alcohol TikToks. Like they're just going to own it.
I think Ryan Reynolds has figured it out.
Yeah, he has a roundabout. He's a person, so he can do it because he's a person. That's the difference.
And that's my point, right? He's selling Ryan Reynolds, who's also talking about something else, right? That's interesting.
Exactly.
All right, let's go back to these questions here. Rapid fire question number 3: coffee or alcohol? And we can throw wine in there.
I will say both, because I literally have a mug that says "Life is what happens between coffee and alcohol." Or coffee, and then I have another one that's specific to my job, which says "Life is what happens between coffee and wine." So I have both.
Very good. Rapid fire question number 4: what's your favorite on the run food?
I definitely have to say a burrito, or really any like Mexican food. I am from San Francisco, born and raised, mission style burrito all the way. I do love some classics spots here, and Al Pastor is my favorite burrito. Like Al Pastor burrito all day.
Nice. We'll check it out. Rapid fire question number 5: what do you want to be after you finish this career?
I have so many thoughts on this. I think I love my industry so much. We don't know where it's going to be in a few years. Love my industry so much. I think I want to stay in it in some way, shape, or form, whether that's mentoring or, teaching classes or some kind of, support system for young PR pros as they come up into the space. So I think education and teaching and continuing to foster great publicists and PR pros in the industry is important to me. But if I had like all the money to blow in the world and everything I want to do, I definitely think I would become like a travel writer, because I love to travel. I do travel for work. I travel personally pretty regularly and frequently. So I think I could turn that into a second career if I really focused on it and spent some time.
Sounds good to me. Tinka, this has been a great conversation. Please let people know how they can find you online.
Yes. So our company is pretty easy to find online. It's calhounwine.com. That's CALHOUN wine.com. I'm on Instagram and Twitter still at Tinka Bush. That's TINKABUSH. BUSH is my last name, Bush. And I'm also really active on LinkedIn, like I said. So that's all 3 names, Katina Tinka Bush on LinkedIn.
We will look you up. Tinka, thanks so much for your time today. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Please remember to subscribe to the show. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The PR Podcast, and send us a question or a comment. Our intro is by Christopher Apple. You can find him and his fantastic photography on Instagram at Christopher_APPOLDT. Check him out there and hire him for all your photography needs. You can find me online at Jody Fisher on all the socials and on the web at jodyfisherpr.com. We'll see you next time on the PR Podcast.